Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Harshvardhan Lunia, the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of LendingKart. Today we will be talking about various topics with him. So let's get right to it. Budget is on the 1st of February. What do you expect out of it? What do you think is on plate for you?
Thanks, Nidhi. I think this is an important question that's going on in minds of all of us overall, what's going on. And I think by end of last year, we had kind of come out of COVID thought process, right? But early January and late December, we are again back into what seems like to be a COVID third wave overall. So from our business perspective, there are two things, right? Two sectors that we would want to be prudently looked into budget. The first is overall MSME sector. I think MSME sector, as we all know, almost contributes 30% of India's GDP, right? And I think last two waves, the government's done phenomenal work. And overall, the MSME sector has also done phenomenal work in adhering to government guidelines and supporting the government in restrictions and everything, and allowing the spread of pandemic to be restricted, right? I think the government should continue the good work. My recommendations would be that the initiatives that the government had taken during wave one, right, the TLTRO operations, or overall giving them additional financing in terms of ECLGS, that should be continued. Similarly, I think another thing important that's currently coming out is overall the CGTSME scheme, right, where the government was providing support to small businesses in terms of defaults and everything. That should still be continued. One large aspect of the thing is, I think if you look at our ecosystem, there's a technical change, right? The offline businesses, which were MSMEs, right? The Kirana stores, the Mithai store, the mobile phone owners, I think. One of the initiatives that government is picking up and should pick up overall in the coming years should be to equip them digitally, right? Both online and offline businesses should continue for them overall, in the sense that if there is Kirana store, right? I think by equipping him in terms of digital infrastructure, by equipping him in terms of infrastructure, roads, logistics services overall, the government can support those sectors and allow that guy to deliver offline as well, right? I think COVID wave one, it was kind of, I thought that only essential items were allowed. But I think right now, if you look at this age and ecosystem we are in, everything's essential, right? So I think why segregate between essential and non-essential? So I think these are a few of the things, Nidhi, I think government should support and build for MSME. For fintech as a sector, I think it's been both a bane and boon, right? Fintech is a nascent sector still in the country. We are trying to solve for an underserved segment, right? And that segment is the most hit right now with COVID. But in the sense, it's been a boon in the sense that the earlier plans of basically meet and greet, touch and feel that all of us were pushing towards, right, through the branch and spoke model, that will take a big backseat right now. Basically, the idea would be to digitally connect with all the consumers and take the digital processes forward. So for fintechs, my suggestion would be RBI is already doing its own work of making collaborations possible. Overall, for fintechs, the government should also support them. In terms of fintechs are heavily investing in technology, right? If you could get some government SOPs or some additional benefits in taxes or income through that, that will be very helpful. Similarly, government through a regulator, RBI and other nationalized banks are sitting on piles and piles of funds. If that could be made available to fintechs at lower cost overall, so that could be transferred to borrowers or small MSMEs at lower cost, that will help them a lot in these times as well. So these are the few thoughts, Nidhi, from my side.
What do you think for NBFC's budget expectations?
I think for NBFCs, it's been prudent budget overall, Nidhi, right? I think like availability of funds from larger institutions to NBFCs. Overall, I think government's been pushing the digital journey of the consumer, right? Either through KYC, e-sign, e-natch, a lot of regulations are coming up for a lot of those. I think so government's doing enough work on the NBFC space. I think mostly now, a lot of platforms, right? LendingKart as a platform, we've been working for almost 3-4 years and we're scaling up drastically over there. I think a lot of fintech platforms need support for overall from government for acceptance and adoption overall, right? With banks and everyone, because I think the collaboration will be a way forward. So NBFCs are doing reasonably well. I think in terms of liquidity, in terms of other supports, that's been reasonably available. But more so if government can accelerate the adoption of digital through fintech platforms like ours, it will be much more prudent, Nidhi, for them.
Do you think that the government should do something more to ease the liquidity in NBFCs this budget? Like apart from what they're already doing, do you think it more is needed or what is there is enough?
So this is a kind of a question, right? There's never enough, right? I think NBFCs have been serving an underserved segment in the country, right? And that's a capital starved class that needs capital at continuous basis. So anything that government does on this side would always be less, or there will always be demand for more. So I think anything that more they want to do, they can do is will be very well appreciated.
What do you think the government can do on co-lending, and how is your co-lending partnership coming along?
I think again, Nidhi, for this, if you look at last 4 or 5 years, right, overall in the fintech ecosystem, there have been 3 or 4 trends that all of us have witnessed, right? The first trend is basically a lot of institutions are now getting digital natives, right? So if you look at the largest of the banks and financial institutions like the private banks or public sector banks, to maybe payment banks, to platforms, to fintechs and everyone, all of them are now connecting digitally to the customer, right? So it's the going to a branch, meeting the customer is taking a backseat. The second trend that's happening overall, Nidhi, is basically a lot of play is going on for attracting the consumer, right, digitally, and engaging with them as well. Again, if you look at, everybody's designing their apps to continuously engage, sell more products and everything. And third, everybody is also focusing on data, right? Data about the consumer, of how they can be evaluated, and giving a convenient services to them as well overall. So I think all of these 3 aspects or trends that we are seeing currently are incorporated through can be seen in working in the co-lending as a space, right? So basically, if you look at the digital onboarding or digital services, similarly, the customer engagement and experience and data play, all the fintech platforms can do all of that. And the largest of the banks and financial institutions basically have cash and capital to deploy, right? And if we collaborate and work together, then the consumer can be served in the best interest and fashion, right? And that's been our realization as well. I'll give you a candid example. We had done almost 150 crores of co-lending in 1920. In 2021, we did 250 crores. And this year, we are going to close 1,000 crore plus overall, right? So we are going to do almost 3,500 crore of loans in the entire year. But out of that, also 1,000 crore is going to go into co-lending. So which is a very large number. And suddenly they're drastic. We currently have almost 20 players right now doing co-lending with us, which will drastically go up across next 6 months. We'll double them. Right. So a lot of the largest of the banks, financial institutions, nationalized banks, private banks have tied up with us overall, and we are seeing a great traction in that. And I think that's overall best for the consumer as well. So they can get best of both the worlds, right? Best of the fintech platforms and best of interest rates and loan amounts from largest of the institutions as well. Yeah.
So, Harsh, what is your average loan ticket size so far? Like,
so we've been Nidhi, serving to the underserved segment. I'll give you a brief background of our customer, right? Our typical customer is like 23 to 45 in age, young, middle-aged customer, having young children, teenage children, first generation, second generation entrepreneur. 80% of our borrowers are kind of educated, in the sense they are either graduates, in the sense that they are either BA, BCom, BSc in smaller towns, running businesses like a coaching class, a computer academy, basically a trading business, manufacturing business, and something like that. But the best part about all of these guys they are banked, right? So they do banking transactions and have bank data available for us to evaluate and work with them, Nidhi. Our typical average ticket size ranges from 5 to 6 lakhs, and the typical tenure is 24 to 36 months, Nidhi. And we give this money for working capital to them. Working capital in the sense buying more goods, paying taxes, paying salaries, and everything on time.
And what about the disbursals so far? How's the business going?
Yeah, 21-22 has been quite good. I think the beginning we saw April and May a little bit affected by COVID wave 2, but I think all of us were surprised at that time, the way it spiked and the way it went down as well, right? It was surprising. The effects were pretty high. But I think post that, June, July onwards, the business has been as usual. In fact, December was this December, we disbursed one of the highest in our history altogether, right? So it's been a fantastic period going on. I think January, again, the growth momentum is still continuing. Touchwood, what's happening right now is there is a spread. The numbers are increasing, but the effects are comparatively lower for a lot of people, right? And the recovery rate is much higher as well. So that's the hope is that we won't see too many lockdowns, we won't see too many impact of it. And I think in fact, in April and May also, we kind of realized that MSME was impacted and their 11% of their business came down. This time, the assessment is that it will be far lower even than the 11% business that came down during April and May for MSMEs. So I think this year is going to be good. And I think hopefully now the way we are seeing things, we might be at the end of hearing the word COVID, right? For at least hopefully some time. Let's see if that pans out, then the business should be normal as usual growth for us.
So your outlook for 2022 is that your business is going to come back to normal now.
Normal and maybe growth as well. We've been growing more than 100-150% every year on year. Our expectation is that 22-23 overall, this 21-22, 22-23 for us is going to be a similar year. So it's gonna be growth here for us again.
What do you think of the demand for this year as well? Like, yes, the business and the performance will go well, but then do you think there will be some kind of hesitation from customers regarding whatever the global situation or the situation is right now?
I think there have been a lot of learnings. I think from the earlier waves also that's were seen for SARS and MARS and others. Nidhi. Typically, the third wave is 25-30% of the second wave, and second wave is the most strongest, right? And I think in India, considering a lot of people that we have, touchwood, we were one of the vaccines producers for the world, right? And that's turned as a boon for us. I think no other country in the world has a capability of like dishing out in a year's time 150 crore vaccines, right? We've done that wonderfully well. Most 60-70% of our population is vaccinated, right? And to a large extent, we have people who are in the risky zone, right? Overall, our seniors, elders, and with comorbidities, they are almost all done. So that's there. I think India has been growing as a country. And I think from Prime Minister's office or FMO as well, there is a clear-cut thought process that if we have to turn to a $5 trillion economy in next 3-4 years, the only way we can do it is if MSME pushes the paddle, right? And MSME grows from 30 to 40 to 50% overall. So I think MSME can do their job. I think this year also we are seeing the expectations that the exports will cross $650 billion, which is going to be one of the highest again in the country. So I think 22-23, the expectation is that there would be ample demand for MSMEs to sell their goods. There would be ample demand for stuff in the market. And I think to serve that demand, our businesses, we will go ahead and support those businesses, and the growth should be phenomenal in the coming year.
So I was going through and I spotted that you have this special loan product for women. Can you just tell me more about it?
We've been working, Nidhi, with Women's World Banking on this aspect as well. I think normally when we assume a businessman, when we assume a small and micro business or a businessman, the idea is normally of a picture of a man, right, running a business overall. But as we move into entrepreneurship overall and small businesses, we are realizing a lot of women are also working in businesses and running their families and earning their livelihoods, right, which is a phenomenal thing overall happening for the country. So suddenly we have people, we've normally had one person earning in the family, right, and the other person managing the household. But if two people start contributing to the GDP and economy, which has been indirectly been happening, but now if it's directly been happening, that it can be phenomenal. We basically are a data-driven company. So we were always wanting to figure out for ourselves, right, whether our algos, whether our models work properly with women entrepreneurs, right? Because the lower number of data points that you have, the lower number of evaluation you can do and everything, right? For men-led businesses, or are there any differences between our evaluation? But touchwood, so we've been working phenomenally with Women's World Banking, who've been propagating women businesses across Asia. We've got externally evaluated our algos as well, and touchwood, we've come out with flying colors. Our basically business models do not differentiate between any men or women or age or kind of caste and everything overall, right? So that's a phenomenal thing. And I think the more and more women we equip and make them independent, right, it's good for our country as well and good for overall as well. So that's there. So we are working with them. We are launching few new products. That should happen. We are already doing a few of our existing products with the women, but we want to specifically launch a few good products for them, which can help them and grow them in their business.
All right. So one last question regarding the budget. Do you think that the government should have something? So the government usually focuses on startups, right?
Yeah.
And startups, under the startups ambit, fintechs come in. But do you think that the government should focus on fintech separately now?
So, Nidhi, this is again a question where anything more is better, right? So, I agree to your question. My thought is that, see, if you look at, there's an Hindi saying, right? कि पैसा ही दुनिया चलाता है, right? Finally, right? So you have, on one hand, you have commerce, on one hand, you have money, right? And the rotation happens for both of them. So I think fintechs are that way helping in the sense that government is pushing on e-commerce, government is pushing on internet-led businesses, online businesses, delivery businesses, infrastructure and everything, right? But for all of that to run, for all of that to build and all of that to be consumed, somebody has to rotate money as well, right? And fintechs are doing that phenomenal job of rotating money, making it reach to the rightful people, right? In some form or the fashion, either it's through buy now pay later loans, either it's through working capital to MSMEs, either it's through bill discounting or trade financing or whatever, right? We are making that happen. So I think now that government is focusing on digital infrastructure, a special focus on fintech should be given. I think there has been ample good work done, Nidhi, in last 18-24 months overall from government's perspective. We've seen a lot of good regulations come out from regulator, a lot of good policies come out from government as well. That should be continued. I personally feel fintech is the backbone of any country, right? Transformation in financial services is required if the company wants to become digital. So that should be continued.
Thank you so much, Harsh. That's all from my end. I'm
Thanks a
taking
lot.
up too much of your time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nidhi, for your time today. Thank you, guys.